seems to be.
Good evening, and welcome to our show, Brookfield Public Advocate. I'm your host, Bruce Senek. This new program will examine issues important to Brookfield and its surrounding towns. The idea for the show originated during my campaign for state representative last fall for Connecticut's 107th District. For those of you who may recall, I was the candidate on the Common Sense party line. The intent of the program is to be somewhat of a counterpoint on the current dialogue on local issues. We will have guests discuss many different subjects and share opinions, which sometimes average folks don't vocalize. In my professional career as a financial advisor spanning 3 decades, I learned early on from a mentor that it's the squeaky wheel that gets oiled. This show will sometimes be a venue for those that are not so squeaky. Future topics will range from local interest stories, guests from our court realignment, the probate judge, members of several boards, guests to discuss conflicts of interest, and people knowledgeable on water issues, which are so vitally important to our general health. The program will surely evolve and change and grow over time. And for viewers that have suggestions for topics, please contact me through this cable station. And later on, we'll put up some contact information for you. I believe that through keeping an open mind and being willing to listen to opposing viewpoints, we can make this area a better place in which to live and work. Thinking outside the box often brings new vigor and enthusiasm in helping us solve problems. I hope you'll enjoy the show. Tonight's topic is Kids Kingdom 2. First, I'd like to give you some background. On April 13th, 2010, Brookfield voters considered at referendum a plan to spend $5.3 million for upgrading and repairing facilities at 3 of its parks: Kids Kingdom, Cadogan Park, and Town Park Beach. It was defeated. Voters did, however, approve spending $10 million for road improvement. In the ensuing months, the Parks Reinvestment Project Plan, as it's been come to be called, has continued to evolve, and over the next month and beyond, voters will have the opportunity to reconsider a modified plan. This modified plan will include some good news regarding the application of recently approved state of Connecticut grants to the town of Brookfield, which will help offset some of its costs. It is also possible that the modified plan will include a new project, the construction of a pedestrian and bike path to be called the Still River Greenway. It appears that state and federal funding may also be available to offset a portion of this cost. The first such reconsideration opportunity will be next week, Wednesday, February 23rd, at a town meeting, called for the purpose of considering an investment in one park, Kids Kingdom. This is where voters will be asked to vote for an expenditure of $500,000. Next, I'd like to introduce our guest, Bill Tinsley, who's here today to answer some important questions regarding the project and is the Brookfield's Board of Finance Chairman. First, some background on Bill. In doing some research for this show, your resume, Bill, pretty impressive. You have a degree, an undergrad degree from the University of the South, an MBA from Columbia University's Graduate School of Business in New York. And then for 17 years, you were with Duracell in vice president and managerial positions. And now you're in private consulting. I know when I contacted you several times to arrange for this interview to come on the show. One time I believe you were in Pennsylvania, another time in Tennessee. Normally I'd ask what you do in your spare time. I'm not sure you have any. You've served on our Board of Education and been its vice chair You've also served on our Board of Finance for the last 8 years and now serve as its chairman for the past year. Bill, welcome to the show, and we appreciate your willingness to join us.
Bruce, thanks a lot. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and I hope we can have a good first show for you.
Well, I appreciate those kind words, and I think we will. Yeah. It's of urgent importance, I believe, with some of the town's finances. Bill, tell me a little bit about Kids Kingdom, its history a little bit, and how that relates to today's project.
Gosh, Bruce, 21 years ago, we had a group of visionary citizens who saw a need in the town of Brookfield, and they organized themselves around an effort to build a nice playground for the town's kids. They, over a period of about 3 years, organized the effort, and they did it with volunteer fundraising, and when the time came to build the park, it was done with volunteer labor. And they have left us a legacy of their service and their vision, and a treasure for our town that I don't know anyone in Brookfield that hasn't had the opportunity to enjoy for, like I say, for the past 21 years. I have kids in my family and now grandkids, and I personally enjoy it, and we cannot thank those volunteers enough for what they did for us 21 years ago. But now 21 years has passed, and what we're faced with today is a playground property that is ending or is nearing the end of its useful and safe life. And it needs to be revitalized and the equipment there replaced. And in my personal opinion, it needs to be done now. The nice part about the dialogue in Brookfield around this project is I believe most people are on that page, that we need to do it and we need to do it now. I know myself and many, many other people would like to see us do it this spring so that we can be using it by the summertime. Of course, now that's assuming that the snow and ice melts between now and then. I'm a little sick of that myself. I don't know about you.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, you bet.
Well, Bill, it sounds as if you strongly want to get this done as a replacement for Kids Kingdom. Tell me a little bit more about what you've found and some of what your understanding is as to what the current project is.
Well, Bruce, we have a playground design. The viewers of the show can see that design by visiting the town's website. If they scroll down to the bottom of the home page, they can actually take a virtual tour. It is a design of equipment being proposed by Landscape Structures. It is a design that is anticipated in the proposal that will be in front of the town meeting you mentioned. The voters of the town are being asked to approve a $500,000 expenditure for the town in order to build the playground. Now, part of the good news that you mentioned in the introduction is that between the last vote in April of last year and December of this year, we've been the recipient of a $250,000 grant to help us defray the cost. And it's an absolute grant, not a matching grant. So if we were to spend $250,000, we would get $250,000 from the state as a grant to help us with the cost. Every dollar above $250,000 we spend, and it would be paid for out of the town of Brookfield's finances.
Now, the vote will be next week. You've mentioned some thoughts on the plan and your position. Voters will be asked to approve $500,000 as the budget for this project. What can you tell us about that $500,000 figure?
Well, there are some of us that believe that $500,000 is a lot of money for a playground, and are a little concerned over how well the project has been vetted, and we believe that we can actually have the playground as proposed, which, like I say, is a very nice playground, that if we change a couple of components in the way that we approach the project. I personally believe that the playground can be done, the one proposed as is, for about $360,000. But it would require that we change our thinking about it. It would mean that we would need to take on a project that would be a community-oriented, volunteer-oriented building project, so that we would use volunteer labor, Brookfielders, to help demolish the playground that is currently in place and to reconstruct the new playground. And doing it in that fashion has more benefit than just the financial benefit. And I'll go back to the legacy that was left by the volunteers 21 years ago. They gave us something as a community that we own, that we have pride in, that we protect and take care of. And in my view, that has more value than the financial benefit. But we also need to be concerned about the financial benefit as well, and certainly in these days and times we shouldn't be spending a single dollar that we don't need to spend. So, you know, my attitude or my feeling about the project is that it's a great project, a good playground design, but it's a little too costly. $500,000 is a little costly.
Yeah. Oh, it would hopefully be quite some playground. Right. But let's not get sidetracked regarding our discussion on the volunteer effort. But quickly, you did mention some other questionable expenditures. Can you give me an example or two?
Well, I think the big difference in being able to reduce the cost of the project below $500,000 is really in the labor component. But a couple of other examples. Let me see if I can think of a couple. In the projected expenses, in the $500,000 number, there's $7,500 for the preparation of bid packages. Now, I'm very encouraged that at least at some point in this project that there is an anticipation that there will be competitive bids. So far that hasn't been done, but I'm very encouraged about the fact that there's a vision that we're going to have competitive bids for this project, which will also help with its cost. But I don't think that we need to spend $7,500 for a consultant to help us prepare them. My view is that our town hall administrators, whether it be out of the Park and Rec Department or with the aid of our with other departments in town hall, that we ought to have the wherewithal in the manpower that we have to prepare those bids. And I also know that if they need help, there are a number of us in town who have the skills to be able to help with that effort. So that's an example of where we could save. I know it's a small number, but that's one line item where we could save another $7,500.
Right.
There's also in that, I can think of one other area, there's a couple of other line items in the estimate for $500,000 trying to account for the cost of seeding and landscaping. There's $28,000 there. That's a big number for seeding and landscaping for a playground that is about 1 acre in size in total. And particularly when the site prep, when we already have a playground on the site.
Right.
So, that's an area where I think we've probably overstated the cost a little bit. And plus, it's also the kind of area with again, a spirit of volunteerism and donation, maybe some things that inside that plan that we could get donated as well. So there's a couple of areas. You take those two together, that's another $35,000.
Right. Yeah.
So.